Hello grade 3-4. So we are nearing the end of our unit on statistics and graphing, and today I wanted to give you an example of what your final project is going to look like. You're going to pick a topic. It can be anything you want. I picked genres of books that I owned, and it's just the books that I have in my living room, and you can see there's some there and there's some there. There's books other places in the house too, but I just picked the ones in here. So I picked a topic, and then I made my T-chart to start. So you'll see I made my title, which is Genres of Books Miss Boyd Owns. So that's my title. You have to have a title. Then the genre of books. So the books I noticed I had a lot of were fantasy, humor, nonfiction, and horror. So when I went through and tallied them up, I had 30 fantasy books, 20 humor books, so just funny stuff, 18 nonfiction, which is, you know, the truth. It's not fictional, it's real. And then horror, I had 10 books. So I took that information and then I made my pictograph. Well, I started my pictograph. So you'll see that this is gonna look, my T-chart looks almost the exact same as my pictograph, except my pictograph is gonna have pictures in this column instead of numbers. So let's look at Miss Boyd's pictograph. So I haven't finished it yet, but you'll see I started it. And it says, genres of books Miss Boyd owns. And it looks the exact same, doesn't it? And I said, let this, it's supposed to be a book, equal 5 books. So if I have 30 fantasy books, I would count by 5. So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, I'll have to put one down low because I don't have the space, 30. So 30 fantasy books. Humor, I had 20. So I'll line it up and count by 5s again. I picked a scale of 5 because it was the easiest one to use. I could have done 2s, but it would have been really big. So 5, 10, 15, 20. Now this is where things are going to get interesting because nonfiction I had 18. So I know I can get up to 15 easily with 5, 10, 15. Now 15 to 20. So 15 to 16, 16 to 17, 17 to 18 is 3. So I am 2 away from 20. So I'm just going to make this part of a book, okay? It's not going to be the whole book. So 3 would be 3/5 of the book. So I'd have like my little line, and then the other 2 would be over here. So it doesn't look exact, but it's the best way I could do it. And then horror, I had 10. So 5, 10. So that's my pictograph. I know it's a little messy. It's hard to hold a phone and draw neatly at the same time. Now, what I want you to notice, my pictograph titles are going to be the exact same on my bar graph. You'll see. First, I've got my genres of books Miss Boyd owns. My bar graph will have the same title. Then, where it says genre of book, that's going to be on my x-axis. See, I put genre of books, and then I wrote the books fantasy, humor, nonfiction, horror. Finally, it says amount Miss Boyd owns. That's going to be on your y-axis, okay? So that's going to be along the side where you put your numbers. Now remember, when you're putting your numbers, the numbers need to, it's hard to do all this at once. The numbers need to go on the lines, not on the spaces, okay? So, I'm just going to get this to stay here. I apologize for it. It's tough to be a producer and a talker and all the things at once, and the person who's doing the film. So, as you remember, this is where 0 goes, right at the bottom left corner, okay? As we know, I decided to make my scale 5. I could change my scale of my bar graph if I wanted to 2. Like I said, it's up to you what you want to use a scale of. It just has to be more than 1, okay? Don't go up by 1, go up by 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever you want, and find a good way to represent it. So, my numbers are on my lines. They're not in the spaces, okay? Because this counts as 5 all the way up to here. So, now I'm going to color it in. We know for fantasy, and I'm right up to 30, so I'll just go a little higher just to show. for fantasy, I had 30 books. So I'm gonna draw my line across the 30, okay? And then I'm gonna color it in. And make sure you color it in nice and neat. I'm gonna kind of go quickly here so this video isn't, you know, 2.5 hours long. It'd be better if it was quick. So there's my fantasy, colored, almost all colored in, a little bit of a scribble there. Okay, humor. If I look back at my pictograph, I had 20 humor. So I'm gonna color in humor with orange. I find my 20, there's 20. I wouldn't write it on my fantasy, but I move over to where humor is, I make my line, and then I color it in. 20 humor books. And I don't have to write my scale here like scale equals 5 because I can see that it goes up by 5 here. Whereas when we make our pictograph, we have to write the key because we might not know what that represents. So I said, let that book equal 5 books. And then you can see right here where I've got that funky book. I could even write there if I wanted to because it is kind of confusing that this book represents, so 3. I'm just gonna put that over it, just in case it's really unclear. Like I said, going up by 2s is really easy, or if you have something that goes up easily by any number, it helps, but if you have one like that, it's not the worst thing in the world to write that number there. It's a little easier to represent on a graph, where it's harder to represent on a pictograph, but the bar graph isn't so bad. So there's my humor. Not the nicest coloring job I've ever done, but it is what it is. Nonfiction, the tricky one, so 18. So we find 20. 18 is between 15 and 20. It's a little bit before 20, isn't it? So I would find where 20 is, and I would go a little bit below. There, and make my line nice and neat. And as you can see, when I was making my graph, you guys will have one that's already kind of made, that I sent, but I made sure that I used a ruler to make it nice and neat. So I'm gonna color in my nonfiction. There were 18 nonfiction books. They were the truth. I like reading about animals, and I like reading about the ocean and the rainforest. So that's part of why I have so many nonfiction books. And of course, Miss Boyd always likes a good scare, so she had her horror books. And remember, horror went to 10, so I'm gonna get a different color, and 10 is here. So I look across, follow my line for 10, and horror had 10, so I'll make my line here, and I'll color it in. Like I said, I'm coloring quickly. It's not my best coloring job, but it is what it is. So there's my bar graph. Do not forget in your bar graphs, because I've noticed some are, you need to have all of your different labels. So you need to have the same labels that you put in your pictograph. So genre of book with my genres. Amount Miss Boyd owns with my scale. And then my title, okay? The titles are all important to have too. They're a big part of the graph. And then of course, making sure you go up by the proper amount, okay? Like I said, I'd like you to go up by more than 1. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever works best for what you collect for data. And I'm sending along some ideas of what you could do. I went with books. You could look at colors of shirts you have. You could ask different family members, call them up and ask which types of movies they like. So you could pick, 4 different genres: action, comedy, scary, and fantasy. Or you could go out for a walk and see the different types of birds. Maybe you see 10 crows, 5 ducks, 13 pheasants, and 8 eagles. You can do anything you want to do as long as it makes sense and it's appropriate. Remember, you're gonna have to have a T-chart. Okay, that's how you collect your data. Then your pictograph, try to do it neat. Mine's not the super neatest because again, I'm only using one hand here. And then your bar graph, and make sure you have all of your titles. And then I'm excited to see what you do. And it's fun when you have a bar graph. Mine actually just goes from most to least, but you can tell which type of genre of book I like the most, which is obviously fantasy. I do enjoy horror books, but out of all of them, it's the least. And you can tell that I don't like drama as a genre because I don't even have any. So good luck with your projects. I hope this helps. Please use this to help you and the examples I send along. I'm excited to see what you do with them. Thank you, grade 3-4. Bye-bye.